Hello everybody, it's Frank. So I've had a few people ask me how I make my sushi rolls. So I'm going to show you. Now I'd taken a picture and I posted it up on my Facebook page. This is actually my sushi roll mat that I made. This I've had for years. What I did was I used some bamboo skewers, some of the long ones, and I cut the tips, the sharp tips off of them, and then I used some butcher twine and basically just wove them together. Like I say, I've had this just for years. I make sure to go ahead and keep it clean and everything. And when I do the rolling, I put some saran wrap, over it to actually roll it. So I use the roasted seaweed. This is the package here. I get this from my Asian market. And sesame seeds sometimes I'll put on the outside. I won't do that today on this roll that I'll be making and showing you, but sometimes I'll put some on the outside of it. Grab the wasabi that I use, and it's not real wasabi. This is the horseradish stuff, but this is the S&B wasabi that's in the little squeeze tube. It has a good kick to it, but again, it's not the real wasabi. It's the horseradish stuff. I love real wasabi, but it's really hard to find, in these areas. So the sushi rice, I've got some that I'd prepared. This is actually a day, actually 2 days old, in the fridge, and it's fine to use. This is sushi rice, again, that I get at the Asian market, and it's equal parts sushi rice to equal parts water. Now the main thing is make sure to rinse off the sushi rice before starting the preparation of the rice. That gets the excess starch off. So like on mine, I'll make 3 cups. So I'll do 3 cups of sushi rice and 3 cups of water. So you put the water with the rinsed off sushi rice into the pot, bring it up to high heat and start it boiling. You don't put the rice into boiling water, you go ahead and bring it up to temperature. And then once it's up to temperature, and this is with it uncovered, then you drop it down onto low, and you let it go ahead and cook for like 10 minutes, 15, just kind of depends. So normally I let mine go for about 12 minutes, somewhere in between. Then you take it off of there and let it sit covered for about another 10 minutes or so. Now while that preparation is happening, then you've got your rice vinegar for 3 cups of sushi rice. Normally what I'll do is 3 tablespoons of rice vinegar and 3 tablespoons of sugar to 4 tablespoons of sugar. If you like your sushi rice a little sweeter, go with 4 tablespoons no, I take that back. It's 3 tablespoons to that mixture. So go with 3 tablespoons of sugar, and it's just regular white sugar is what I'll use. And then I'll use approximately 2 tablespoons of salt. You can tone it down a little bit on the salt if you don't like yours, again, to taste a little on the saltier side or a little less on the saltier side. And then you bring that up to temperature to where it breaks down the sugar and gets it all clarified. And what happens is once that rice has set for that that extra 10 minutes or so, you're going to pour it into a large mixing bowl and let it get to room temperature. And once it's to room temperature, then you're going to fold in that mixture of sugar, rice vinegar, and salt into that mixing bowl, and just fold it in. Now, make sure not to smush it. You work it too hard, you can break down that rice, because you really want your nice kernels of rice, and it's got to kind of clump together and stick together. See how it's sticking to my fingers like that? When you work it like that, it's going to come together, and oh God, that tastes good. So, you know, that's what you want, is that stickiness to it. And you can taste your rice once you've folded that mixture into it. And if it is not sweet enough to your taste, then what you can do is put a little tiny bit of rice vinegar into a pot, and then add some more sugar into it. Bring it up to temperature and let that sugar break down and clarify out, and then add that and fold that into your rice. I would not add any more salt. You know, all you're doing is just adding that sugar into it, unless you're wanting more of a salt taste. Then you would add some more salt into it. So, today's ingredients, what I'm doing is I'm using some cream cheese, which you can see I've already cut up into some strips. I'm going to use some avocado, basically a half of an avocado that I've cut horizontally into it and then vertically to create some strips. And you know, the top part I needed to cut off, and so I made sure that there was some feng shui to it. So of course I had to eat it to make sure that it was, you know, quality assurance, of course. So yeah, it was yummy. And then I've got some dill pickle that I'm going to add into there. You know, you can do cucumber, things like that. And today, now I like to use ahi tuna raw, but today I'm using some imitation crab. So, you know, this is just white fish. Now, for me, I make sure to get some paper towel and put down like 3 layers. And I'll put this onto that paper towel, and then put another 3 layers, and I'll press it down a little bit, because the one thing about this is when it gets to you, it will have quite a bit of moisture usually inside of it. So that way it takes that extra moisture out of it, because you just don't want that extra moisture in there. So I'm going to put some saran wrap down, and I always love working with this because it loves to stick to itself. So basically I'm just going to show you one roll and how I make that. It's really, really simple, and it doesn't cost a lot. And really, for the most part, sushi is very healthy to eat. You know, I love eating sushi. Any of you that have followed my nowthat'scooking.com site, which, by the way, I'm getting ready to revamp again, and we'll be relaunching that again, so keep an eye open for that. A lot of exciting new things will be happening with that site. But any of you that have followed me, you know, as far as my foodie voyages, you know that sushi is my kryptonite. It really, really is. I just absolutely love sushi. So I'm using a spoon to spread this out instead of my hands and getting them all sticky and everything, so I don't have to clean in between. But I like to create a nice layer of sushi rice in there, and I'm going to have some excess that's going to squish out on the ends. It's just going to happen. You know, this is a fun activity actually for family and kids. You know, make yourself a couple of mats. You can buy the mats too, already made at the Asian markets. You can order them online. As with anything, like with my stained glass and whatnot, when I'm teaching people, I always, you know, try to tell folks, buy locally. You know, the online stores are great to deal with. I buy from them all the time. In fact, I got a shipment from one of the big ones here just a couple of days ago for some items that I just couldn't find locally. But you know, try to support your local vendors and local suppliers as much as possible. So, or try to make them. Like I showed you, I made this mat myself. This mat is probably, oh geez, if I was to guess, I would say probably somewhere in the 6 to 10 year range. I hate to give such a wide girth of age on it, but I really don't remember. But yeah, it's probably 6 to 10 years old. So sit down with your kids and make one for each of them, and you know, they're gonna have a lot of pride in that. And then sit down and make sushi together. You know, open up their palates to something, but they're gonna have a lot of fun just, you know, just making this. And you can make vegetarian rolls and do all sorts of just fun stuff. When I went to Hawaii, I had a spam sushi roll. Wow, that was something totally different, I tell you. Alright, so seaweed layer goes down. I like to kind of give it a little press into place. That gets the rice, that layer, adhering to it. And you'll notice that where I'm going to start the roll, I make it even. And where it's going to overlap, I always have a little bit of extra rice over there. Okay? Now, let's see here. I'll grab out. There we go. Sometimes you just got to get your fingers into it. Oh, cream cheese. I love this. Let's cut that off there. Okay. Alright, next, some avocado. Now, the more ingredients that you put into your sushi roll, the thicker it's going to be. So the larger diameter that roll is going to wind up being. So keep that in mind while you're making your roll. So if you want really small dainty rolls, you're going to need to make sure to make your ingredients that go into them thin. So now, good. You know what I like about adding pickle into these, and you can do sweet gherkins as well as the dill. But what I really like about adding these pickles in here, the dill especially, it adds a really nice crunch when you're biting down into the roll. All right, now then, let's add some of this imitation crab. This big chunk there, and cut off a little piece here. Go right there onto the end. All right, that's all together. All right, now the fun part. Getting it all together. What I'll do is start with a little press. Kind of get those ingredients squished up into themselves. And then just hold it just like so. You got to make sure not to let that saran wrap get up inside of the roll. So I just do that just to kind of hold everything just to start with. And right over onto itself. Make sure the saran wrap doesn't get into the roll. And right over. Once I get that first little bit, then I'll draw it back and I'll give it a little press. So this roll I'm going to kind of make rectangular instead of rounded. So what I'm doing is I'm pressing down and getting that rectangular shape started. Alright. Now my next side. Right there. And again, giving it a press just to get all those ingredients in there. And there you can see the rice coming out on the ends a little bit. That's fine. Now, I'm no professional by any means. I did not go to school for this. I just have a passion. I love sushi. And I'm not always where I can go and get some. So, I just figured out how to make it myself. Watched videos. You know, there's a lot of good ones out there. And that's part of why I'm doing this one, is because I just want to show you what I've learned and how I have applied that. Alright. There's that. Now, work my mat out from underneath there. There we go. The mat will get washed off. Then I'll make probably about 3 more, because I have a good appetite. Now, the saran wrap goes back over, and here's my trick for cutting. What I do, and you can probably hear the water running in the background. A little bit of towel. Wipe the excess stuff off there. Now, a little bit of water on the blade. It's not much. You can see there's a little tiny bit of water on that blade. I'll go through and I'll start cutting. This is a thin knife, as you can tell, and I made sure to sharpen it before doing this, because it's got to be nice and sharp. Otherwise, what you're going to wind up doing is just squishing the sushi roll. And I'll wipe it every once in a while to make sure that things like the cream cheese are off of there, because otherwise that'll grab as you cut through. A really thin blade is what you want. So, if you don't have one, go to a flea market. Garage sales. You know, it's warming up out there. You can find them really cheap. Believe it or not, I think I found this knife for $1 somewhere. So, you know, there's good deals to be had for sure. But you can see how nicely it cuts right through there. And that's because of the thinness of the blade, as well as making sure that it's sharp. So, in sharpening this blade, what I did was I bought a whetstone. And it's nothing fancy. I literally got it from one of those everything's $1 stores. So it's one of the dollar whetstones. Nothing expensive. And I just put some water on it, and then you sharpen. If you don't know how to use them, guess what? Go to YouTube. There are tons of how-to videos out there on how to use a whetstone. It is really simple. And it's one of the best ways to put an edge on a knife versus using one of those electric grinders, because it won't grind down a whole bunch of your metal. So, now it's cut nicely. Let's get a plate. Now, I'll shift this. Shifting really isn't going to happen. So, now what I do, I pull that back over, and as you can see, that saran wrap comes right off of there. Now, there's the butt end. Usually what I'll do is I'll take both the butt ends and I'll just put them right next to each other. And then, there's all those beautiful slices. Now look at that. Not too bad, not too shabby for an amateur, huh? And you know what? You can do this yourself. You and your kids can do this. This can be a really fun thing to do at home. What a great thing to do for parties. Not the best display, but I'm just trying to get them on the plate. So, not counting the butt ends, I wound up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 slices of sushi. So, take a look at that. That looks pretty yummy, I would have to say, don't you? Pretty nice, huh? And that is Frank's Sushi 101. And then a little dab of wasabi on each, a little bit of soy sauce, and I don't like to drench soy sauce on the top of my sushi. What I like to do is I will have a little bowl. I have like little tiny bowls, or you can use you know, a small saucer like I have these in, and you put a little layer of the soy sauce in there, and then what you do is you just dredge the sushi just lightly through there, and then eat it that way. And eat it by hand, use your chopsticks, you know, whatever floats your boat. Just enjoy them. So, I hope this has helped you. And I am planning on doing a lot more like how-to videos and things like that in the future, as Now That's Cookin.com relaunches. So, go there. It's still up, and it's got lots of really nice content in there now. So that's Now That's Cookin, and that's without the G, .com. Take care, everybody. Have a good evening.